Okay, let's take a look at a recent game here. Let's go ahead and step through it here and look at what the analysis here on the top will let us know what each of the moves are rated as good moves or not so good moves. So we're going to open with a Queen's Gambit. For some reason, it's saying it was a D4, so we're looking at D2 to D4. Said it's a textbook move, and it's already telling me that Queen's Gambit declined. So I don't know how it's done that because nobody has declined it yet. So go back here. So black has moved to D5, and again considered to be a textbook move. So white moves from C2 to C4, again a textbook move, and black returns with her textbook move, knight B8 to C6. So far so good. We're just trying to get set up in the middle of the game here and try to create our real estate here. So again, another textbook move. We're moving from E2 to E3. White moves from E2 to E3. And at this point, the game says this was an inaccuracy. Black moved to F5 from 7, and the best move would have been from E7 to E5. White then challenges with a good move, but not necessarily the best move. Knight B1 to C3. It says that the best move at this point would have been to take the black pawn on D5. Black then moves to E6, and the game says yes, this was the best move possible. White comes back with knight. The game rates it as an excellent, knight F3, but it said the best move would have been to move this pawn A1, A2 to A3. Okay, at this point, the game says this was an inaccuracy. D to C4. Let's go back and look. We can see that black pawn takes white pawn on C4. The game said that the best move would have been knight on G4 to F6 would have been the best move. Okay, again, we're just trying to get in. There's our center of the board, and then there's our exterior sanctum on the board. So we're trying to get positioned here. It says that the best move white made at this point was moving the bishop from F1 and taking the, so we can back up, the pawn on C4. So bishop F1 takes pawn C4. Black's move is considered a good move out to G6, but it was not the best move, or the pawn moving out to G6. The best move would have been the knight to F6. Queen then jumping out there. Some would say it might be a little early, but the idea here was getting set up here so that we can start doing some preparation for attacking in the middle of the board. Okay, and it's just lining us up with the king here, although there's nothing that can be done to get to the king at this point because we're blocked by the knight. had the queen move to knight on a move here in the near future, of course we would be taken by the pawn. Bishop then to d7, considered to be an excellent move. Again, the game still thinks that the best move would have been the knight to f6. So this is the second time they've pushed to try to get that knight out to f6. At this point, what have we got here? Let's go back here. We've got the pawn moving forward, threatening the knight and the black pawn here. The board seems to think, the game seems to think the best move would be to let the queen retreat back to the second row rather than doing that. Okay, again, we've got the bishop moving. At this point, the game says it's a blunder. The bishop moving to g7. As a blunder, the best move they think would have been moving the black knight to d4. And again, the idea here is advancing the black knight to set up for a check on the king by getting into position here. Okay, this wouldn't do any good, but to put it here and get it in this position to take the white knight would be to some advantage. Castling, they're saying at this point that white missed an opportunity here by castling, that the best move would have been for white to take the black knight and open up this diagonal to the king. Had that been done within a move or two, if the bishop would have tried to take it or the pawn would have taken it, we would have had a opportunity then to check. Okay, so at this point, although castling is considered to be an early on game strategy, at this point they're saying that this was not a good time to do it. Okay, moving the black knight from the g8 to e7 was not the best move. In fact, it was considered to be a blunder, and the best move would have been to move this knight out of the way to save it and get it into this position. Again, the idea is getting the knight here, possibly taking the white knight. White's move and taking the pawn on e6 was considered the best move at this point. So at this point, then b5 was considered to be an inaccuracy. The best move would have been the bishop taking the knight on c3. Bishop takes b5, so we had a pawn on b5. Bishop takes b5, considered a good move but not the best move. The best move would have been the white pawn taking the bishop on d7. Again, we're clearing away. We had an opportunity here. Probably, yeah, this one is good, and we clear out that bishop. We have a threat here by the queen. The queen's still defending the king, but they said that this would have been the best move. At this point, the black side castles. Black side castling then considered a good move. The best move, though, they're saying would have been then at this point, since white did not capitalize on taking the bishop taking the white pawn. Game says that this was a blunder, moving the white bishop to d2. the best move would have been, again, the opportunity for the white pawn to take the black bishop on d7. Okay, and then inaccuracy, moving the black pawn out was not considered a good move, considered an inaccuracy. The best move would have been getting that bishop back up on row 8 to protect the king. Moving the queen across the board was considered a mistake at this point. The best move, again, it keeps saying, why aren't you taking that bishop? Black pawn to h6, considered a mistake. Best move would have been black pawn taking the white bishop on b5. Again, considered another blunder, moving the white knight to g5. The best move, again, it keeps saying, why haven't you taken that bishop? So at this point, the black pawn takes the knight on g5. Moving the queen back, they're saying, was a mistake. The best thing they said that what should have been done was moving the queen to g3 rather than c4. Questioning the move of the black pawn from g5 to g4, they're saying the best move would have been, again, for black to take the white bishop. At this point, the white pawn finally gets a clue and says, let's move and take the black bishop, and this was considered to be the best move. At this point, the king recognizes the danger, moves to the corner. We've got, at this point, the white queen on the diagonal, setting up to challenge if possible. We could also consider moving the queen across the board. Unfortunately, the black pawn here is still defending this position. White knight moving to d5 was considered a blunder. Best move would have been bishop takes black knight on c6. Okay, another missed win, g3. So if we look at g3 here, g3 then missed a win. The best move then would have been the a6, taking the bishop on b5. So at this point, we have the white pawn on f2 takes the black pawn on g3. That opens up the pathway then that the queen needed to check the king. Again, game says that the black pawn should have taken the bishop. Instead, here we see that the black knight moved into e5 on the board. They're calling it a missed win. This would have been the best move. At this point, the queen then moves, checks the king. That was considered to be the best move. And at this point, black resigns the game because at this point, queen can take. If we continued to move here, the idea would have been to get this white knight possibly into position up here, if not threatened, get it into position up here and set this up so that we continue the checkmate.